I'm just doing my holiday shopping. Come on. All right. Every year, around this time, I climb up on my soapbox and I encourage people to not take part in this like just rampant consumerism that is everywhere, and don't buy a bunch of junk for people that they don't really want or need. Support your local economy. Maybe if you're gonna do some shopping, do it from some local artists or or retailers. Of course, I always encourage people to make their own gifts as well. Last year I made a bunch of wooden blocks for my son out of a 2x4 I pulled out of a trash pile. This year I pulled another 2x4 out of the trash. And I mentioned in last year's video that my father, when I was a boy, my father made a set of stilts for me. So I figured, well, cat's in the cradle, it's time for me to make them for my son. So I'm going to use this 2x4 to make a pair of stilts for my son. And I'm not going to use any fancy tools. I'm only going to use hand tools that you could get for a few bucks if you don't already have a shop. Hand drill, hand saw, a couple little clamps I dug up out of the second-hand store. I got a hammer, a piece of sandpaper, a chisel, this little yardstick I dug up at a second-hand store, and then a pencil. I also did go to the hardware store and I bought these carriage bolts and wing nuts. I spent $6.97 on those. I probably could have done it for less if I went to my trash pile and just picked out some carriage bolts, but I wanted to see how much it would cost for someone to do this. If you were to buy a 2x4 and not get it off the side of the road, it would be about $2.50, $3. So you're looking at 10 American to make this, and no power. So I don't know how to make stilts, so let's find out. He's about this tall, I guess. So it's gonna have to be a little bit taller than him because he's gonna be up on him and he's gonna want to hang on to it. So I figure I'll make him maybe like this tall. I'm gonna go a little taller. He's gonna grow. He's gonna want to use this for a while. I'm just noticing some problems with this 2x4. We got this sort of chip out here, and there's a saw mark there. I am going to cheat in one step of the process, and I'm going to rip this down into a 1.5 inch wide piece because I don't want the stilts to be this big. I want it to be a little bit of a challenge. And I'm going to use my table saw for that. If you don't have a table saw, you could have the lumberyard will do this for you. If you go to a decent lumberyard, they'll cut it for you. So you could just have this step done for you. Get the wood pre-cut. So sorry, I am cheating right at the beginning. And now we'll see if I need to go hunting for another 2x4 or not. He's going to be strong enough with their flaws. I think so. This is a tool I forgot to mention in the beginning that would come in handy, a hand plane, just to clean up some of the rough edges on this. Okay, so these poles are about 1.5 inches square, and I have this one that has this cut that I'm a little concerned with. My son's hands aren't as big as mine. Most people's hands aren't as big as mine. And so I want to make a handle, so to speak. So I'm going to take part of the top and sort of thin it out so it's a little more comfortable for his hand to hold while he's walking on them. And I don't know, I'll do a pretty decent amount of it because he's not going to be standing up here. It doesn't have to be super strong. So maybe we'll go like, maybe we can go a full 2 feet. 18 inches looks good. Now when I was carving this first one down, this big chunk of wood came out. There's a knot there and it sort of grabbed the grain a little further in than I wanted to and took a pretty big chunk of wood out, so it's pretty thin here. I think what a sane, rational person would do would be go back to the trash pile and get another 2x4 and start over, but that's not me. I think I'm going to try and glue this back in with a little bit of crazy glue and wood glue. See what happens. It's pretty smooth. But now what we need to do is we need to attach the feet that he's going to stand on, and we want to make him adjustable as he grows and as he gets better at it, so he can go higher and higher. So they're actually going to go this way. So let's figure out how to do that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill my 2 holes into the blocks first, and then I'll use those holes to line up and make marks to where I'm going to drill my holes. It's going to receive it on the stick. I also made these little feet that I'm going to dig up a wood screw and screw onto the bottom, but I don't want it to be too challenging, so this will give him a little bit of a foot while he gets started, and then when he gets better at it, we'll take those off. I intentionally made these holes really tight because I know that the wood will, as they get used, will compress and the bolts will get a little bit looser, so I didn't want them to start too loose off the bat. Well, they work. These will provide my son some fun for a few years. I'm going to clean them up a little more, do a little more sanding, and put a coat of polyurethane on them. Maybe I'll paint them. I don't know, my dad painted mine red. So that was fun. I got to make something for my son for very little money. Didn't participate in the consumer frenzy. He's going to love them. They're going to be kind of cool. Could I have made these better looking? Yeah, I mean, I have this whole workshop full of tools. I could have made these things really nice. I could have made them in about probably 1/10 the time I spent making these, but I was just trying to prove this point that you don't need all these fancy tools, and that, you know, creativity comes from within, and sometimes limitations can be your friend. So you can go out and make something like this. Yours will probably look better than mine because you'll probably spend a little more time for, you know, nothing, and very little hand tools, very little skill. Go try it.